how do you make your first feature film? So like I kind of want to get into like let's say like a feature film like 101 guide, like
Okay.
all the aspects of it because we kind of glossed over it. But I like just from talking to you and living with you while you're making like a movie, just like it's like there's a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, there
Um,
is. Okay, I'll give you. So, do you want me to give you like what the way you should actually do it is, or the way that I did it? Because the way I did it is not the way you should actually do it.
so actually, yeah, I think both. I think first like how you'd recommend doing it, and then some mistakes that you made that you like that you have that you can share so that people don't repeat them, and like save a lot of money and time.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, yeah, no,
but as far as
definitely.
like the like making the first movie, like if you can talk about like just the basic gear to get started, and then all the steps like from like writing the script, assembling the team, like booking locations, scheduling like shoot dates, renting camera equipment, like all the nitty gritty stuff.
You're giving me PTSD now, just saying all those things. Oh man, yeah, I didn't mention that I made a feature film while I was working in LA with I'll just like drop it real quick with Aaron Stark. He was the one viral for his TEDx talk. I was almost a school shooter. I was making that. I was shooting that in San Diego on the weekends while I was working full time in LA. And oh man, that is tough. We'll get to that eventually, but
hmm
um, the way you should actually make a movie, and I would say if this is your first feature, is what I'll say. This is your first feature film. You're a new director. I would make a film that takes place. First off is the writing. Okay, let's go with the writing. With the writing, write something you know you can actually do. Don't write something where you go and then suddenly we're in Paris and the Eiffel Tower explodes and 15 million people like write something that you know you can actually pull off, because one of the things that starts to look amateur with filmmakers is when they try to pull off things that they just don't have the budget or resources to. And I know you want to believe everything can happen. Like let's say you want to shoot that scene where like in Paris an Eiffel Tower explodes. Like shoot it. Don't actually like write it in a way where like you see it. Maybe you write it in a way where like you have a French character in the film and he's crying and the person arrives home. He says, "What's wrong? What happened?" And then he explains it like there.
Mm.
I know seeing is better, but if you're running on low resources and you're doing your first feature, write something that you know you can actually do. That's why most people's first features, like if you go to Tarantino, for example, like take place in like very limited locations. Like they do 3 or 4 locations for a feature film because they know that they can get in and out. And my
Was that
first feature film,
Reservoir Dogs, his first one?
yeah, Reservoir Dogs, yes. My first feature film, Fruit Juice, took place in like 2 locations. Like and I did that by design, obviously, because I wanted to make it easy on me. And then once you like nail that, you can do 20. I did 20 for my next one, 20 locations. So I would say write something that takes place in 2 or 3 locations. The least amount of characters for your first one is the best for you to manage. So I would say maybe like write 5 or 6 characters max, so it's easier to cast. Think about your friends. Think about who in your friend group you can cast. Um, but again, like if you also have access to Leonardo DiCaprio and you think you can do it, then go for it. But I'm just giving you like the easiest way to do it.
Hmm.
I would I would put like a timer on like 2 3 months, because here's your 80/20. Your first feature is not going to be, I mean, unless you're Orson Welles, and hey, you totally can be. I'm not saying you're not, but unless you're Orson Welles, your first feature is not going to be Citizen Kane. Like he did that 25 fucking wild. Like you just want to make a movie, and so what I would say is just whatever the script is in 2 3 months, just shoot that, because people also fall into like the trap where um they write a script and they keep writing and they don't shoot anything for 2 years because they don't think it's good, like it's good enough. And in that 2 years, you could have made a movie that would have taught you so much about filmmaking that the next one would have been like exponentially better than whatever that could have been. So I would say like put a time limit, 2 3 months on writing a script. A feature script's about 90 pages. It's a minute per page. That's roughly what it is, and just write it. Get people to read it. Edit it around. But I would just say like really just try to to truncate that timeline and get something you're proud of quickly. But it doesn't have to be perfect. Like the main thing about the first film is, and the first movies, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like that's not the point. That's the point of this is to start working on it. So I would say that. I mean, there's books you could read. There's books called Save the Cat. There's a book called Writing Screenplays That Sell. There's a book called The Screenwriter's Bible. If you read those, then you're going to be a way better screenplay writer than before you read them. So like I said, you could read those as you write your script. But yeah, once you have the script, what you do is, hopefully, if it's 3 or 4 locations, you start scheduling it. Now, like there's a few ways to do this. Most of the time, people make movies in 3-week segments. Like they shoot for like 5 to 6 days, 10-hour days, and they take a break. Like that's how normally it's done. But that's when you're paying people. It's very hard to get people to work for free, like for 3 weeks straight.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing it like scraps, like the way I was doing it, is you would probably plan a shoot every weekend on Saturday or Sunday, and it's going to take you a while to film the whole movie. Like that's how Christopher Nolan made his first movie. Christopher Nolan made Following, which was a festival hit, and then after that he made Memento. But he made Following with 3 or 4 of his friends, a few locations, and for months they just shot every weekend. I think maybe for almost a year they just shot every weekend until they had the film ready to be made, and then they cut it. But that's for my movies, Fruit Juice and The Empty Iris. I shot once or twice a weekend, with just another Tuesday as well, once or twice every weekend. And eventually, after like 8 months, 7 months, like it becomes a long process because when you're shooting a feature, it takes like 20 days to shoot that, you know. And if you're shooting once a weekend, it takes a long time. But don't think about that. Just it's like chopping wood. Like just put the next one down, chop the next one down, chop it.
What should people get gear wise? And then you can rent gear as well, right?
Well, I don't know where their budget is or what they can spend, but let's assume that they can't spend anything. Let's just assume that. I would say find a DP who shares your passion in the story and has his own gear. Because a lot of times DPs have their own lights and they have like you can find them. You definitely can find them. There's tons that they're just wanting to make a movie.
And so DP is director of photography.
Photography, yes. I would say try to find one and befriend them and be creative together. If you can't do that, I would say an iPhone is great. I mean, like that's what all the greats say is make a movie for iPhone. They have like lenses for iPhones now. They're called Moment lenses. Cost a couple $100. No, actually, that's not true. Yeah, no, that is true. If you buy one for $100, you can buy like 2 or 300. I was lucky that my dad gave me a camera. You know, he gave me like a Canon T2i. Not the best camera in the world, but I had one for my first movie, so I shot my own movie. You can also shoot your own movie too if it's your first one.
Do you need like microphones? You need like lighting, like all that stuff?
The thing that people always say is kind of cliche now because they say it so much, but visual doesn't matter. It's the audio that matters. So making sure that you're in a non-noisy place and you have very good audio. You can also like find for my second movie, I had a cool guy named Chris Velasquez who just hit me up on Instagram saying, "Hey, I do audio. Like, can I do audio for your next movie? Can I record it? I want to get into that." And so like I would say like the real 80-20 happens when you find people that it's their passion to do that. So I would say find someone who's passionate it is to record audio and say, "Hey, are you free for the next 2 months every weekend?" Like you think you could. Well, don't say that because that's a bit aggressive. Just say, "Hey, from time to time, I'll call you for a movie shoot. Are you happy with that?" And then they'll be happy. And then eventually they'll get so invested they'll be like, "Okay, now I need to finish the audio." And so they'll be like, and so eventually they'll get offended if you get somebody else because they've been working so hard on it. So I would say the real 80-20 is to find your team members, your crew members, an audio guy and a camera guy, and then actors. That's all you need. All you need is an audio guy, a camera guy, and actors. You can do everything else yourself.
And how would you find those people? Like, let's say you didn't have your connections right now. Like, who would you ask, or like, would you go on Facebook or? Yeah.
So the way I found the first thing is Facebook. So I'm sure that there's tons of groups everywhere around the world about filmmaking, and so I can guarantee you're going to find someone there. Just make a post about your story. Just type in Facebook sound, Facebook DPs. Sometimes they might want to get paid. Don't do that when you can find somebody. One thing that I did to find people was I went to my local community college back when everything was still open, like years ago. And for example, I went to like community college and there was an orchestra course or a music course, and I asked the teacher, "Hey, in your next class, can you ask if there's any students that want to do film scores? And then I got an email saying, hey, I found this guy who wants to do film score. And then I met with him, and he was like, yeah, I'll do it for free. Really, but like students, definitely schools. Students will do anything for free. And so definitely going to schools and finding like the photography classes for a cinematographer, or going to the sound classes or music classes for a sound guy or music. That's a good place to go. Just literally just go and visit them. Make an appointment with a teacher. Don't tell them you're not a student. Just go, or tell them you're not a student, so you're making a movie. And Facebook. Those are the ways that I've used. Social media. But if you don't have a social media following, that's not going to really help you out. Those are like the two ways that I've sourced talent. So
Okay.
building the team is probably one of the first steps you do, nitty gritty, and then
That's funny because like it's a equipment question, but like the answer is basically find people, right? Which is funny.
I know. Like I'm sorry if I
No,
took
not
it,
at all. Just observing.
because like people will have the equipment, and it's always best to, like, have people, because then your movie gets better.
Yeah.
And also you need to learn as a director to manage people anyways, right? Like you
Yeah.
need to learn like work. Like that's one of the biggest thing all the greats say as well in their interviews. They go, yeah, one of the skills you need to have is people. Like you know how to manage people and and work with them, because if you can't collaborate, then you can't make a movie. And so starting that off in your first film with getting a DP or a sound guy, I think will be good for their creative development, rather than doing everything themselves.
And for booking the locations, because like for you it might sound obvious now, but like how do you find locations for your movie? And like yeah, how do you find it, and how do you like, do you have to pay for them, or I know you have some tips about like finding locations for free, but like yeah, what's that process? What does it look like?
Well, you first draft. So let's say you wrote a movie that takes place in an apartment, a park, a bar, and a street. So the great news is, if you don't live in LA, you can shoot without permits anywhere you want, as long as you're charming. That's the great news. For an apartment, I would say ask all your friends, and if you live in an apartment, like take a look. Does this look the way you want it? Just ask around, ask friends of friends. Like think back, really think back, because that's how you get it for free. If you can't get it for free, then you go to Airbnb, but that's going to cost you, and it's going to add up. So one thing you could also do is some things that people do, like for example, they did it in Mission Impossible. They think about what locations they have, and then they write a story that fits there. Like they go, okay, I can for sure get this location because my friend does this. I'm gonna write a movie that takes place somewhere like that. So in Mission Impossible, they literally just write out like the 6 or 7 big stunts they want to do in the movies and what cities. Then they find a story that fits that. That's how they do those movies.
Mm-hmm.
So you could do that. But let's say you want to film at the park. At the park, you can film whatever the fuck you want, because it's a public place and normal people don't care, especially if you have a small crew. Street, same thing. I literally filmed a car chase for Just Another Tuesday. I didn't tell anybody about it. It's just a street. I didn't tell anybody about it, and I had 20 people running around. It was like crazy. Nothing happened. The cops have been called to my sets a lot of times before. They're mostly just in awe, like, whoa, it's a movie. But again, I film these not in LA. If you film in LA, I'm sure it's way different.
Mm-hmm.
I've never filmed in LA.
And then like, do you have any stories of like I know you've booked like a couple like I guess more original or like different places.
Yeah.
Like how do you get those? Like I think you mentioned to me like a restaurant or
Yeah. So those places are usually businesses, and if they're businesses, then they have their phone number or email on their website. And so what I would do is I would just call them, cold call them, leave a voicemail, because I normally do that over email. Then email, because in email you can't really get across like your passion for something. So I normally just leave voicemails, and I go, "It's my dream. I want to sell." So like, you just really sell that as your dream. People want to help people with their dreams. Like, they feel good about that. And so I've done that, and sometimes they let you do it for free. Like if you just talk about like if you're a young person, they could let you do it free. Like if you say you're a student or it's been your passion. If you're older, I don't know if they're as forgiving. You could say, I'll put your name in the credits, and if it goes big, it'll be good for you. But sometimes you have to pay. In general, though, like what helped me with Just Another Tuesday, I booked a lot of locations for very little money. Like very, very little money. It was because I was making a movie that I was telling people was going to stop mass shootings. Like that was the goal. The goal was to
There
like,
was a mission behind it. Yeah.
yeah, there was a mission behind it. So like it's a film about mental health and if you have a mission behind your movies and you ask people for stuff like help or the locations like we're talking about, you tend to get a lot lower prices or even free.
Hmm.
So that's something that you could add to the creation of your script. How can I make this more inspiring for people to want to help?
Yeah.
And you can position yourself that way. But in general, they have websites that you can just call. I mean, you can film it any place you want if you're just persuasive enough. Like that's like the way I look at it. So just find a way to persuade them. And if you can't get your number one location, I mean, there's so many bars in the city you live in, I'm sure. And there's so many restaurants in the city you live in. Just keep trying. Eventually someone's going to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, if you have the money, people go into business to make money. So like if you have the money and you can say, hey, it's only an hour and we'll cover how much you would have also work on their hours too, right? Like that's just say like work on your hours. Like a lot of bars don't open at 11 a.m. So you go, we'll film from 11 to 2 before people even show up, and we'll pay $100 to cover the guy that needs to watch us, or pay $50 to cover the guy that needs to watch us. Like if you can like really work on their hours too, like don't ask them to close down or anything, then that helps out a lot as well.
Nice. Okay. So that's the location scouting. What
Yeah, location,
what's
right.
next?
And then one of the things that I was touching on earlier is it's gonna take a long time. So just put your nose to the table and just the next scene. What's the next scene? Just planning the next scene, location for next scene. Like during the week, do all your planning and then and storyboarding. If people are new to movie making, storyboarding I think there's a big debate on storyboarding. Huge debate. Some people think it's the worst thing ever. Some people think it's like what film is. I'm in the camp that if you don't storyboard your movie, you're not getting the most potential out of it. I think you need to design every single shot.
Mm-hmm.
And when you storyboard a movie, you know exactly what shots you need. And so you can show up on the day and go, I don't need a wide shot at all because it's not going to be part of the editing sequence. And so you just save yourself an hour like setting something up over here. Some people don't storyboard and they go, we want to be on set and be like nimble. We want to like know. We want to get there and find the best way to do it. Because if you storyboard, then you suddenly become blind to like the natural things that come up, which does happen. I've missed out on some really good shots that I thought back because I storyboarded. So storyboard, am I helping you out here?
This is great. This is great.
Okay.
I'm actually curious about like how do you actually storyboard? Is it just like
I have some right here. It's funny. You just like draw.
let's see.
You just draw like the action of a sequence.
Okay.
And like the motion of the characters and whether it's a wide or close. So when you make a movie, you have to have seen the movie 1,000 times in your head already. Like Steven Spielberg, I think I heard him say he reads a script 200 times before he even thinks about like starting to shoot it. It's like 200 times.
Yeah. It's like you're visualizing it. You know exactly what the end product is going to look like.
Yeah.
It's crystal clear in your mind. Yeah. And then you just have to like match your footage with what you have in your head.
Exactly. And one thing that helps that is the storyboarding. So you take what's in your head, you draw it out, and then on set you execute on what you draw it out. Like that's the best way to match what's in your head to a movie. Scorsese does it. Ari Aster does it. Wes Anderson. You know what I heard yesterday? Wes Anderson. He does animatics of his movies. Like he.
So it's like Pixar type stuff.
He does animatics every single one of his live action movies before he even shoots, and he only executes the animatics. So he shows them to the actors and the producer, and he goes, "This is what we're getting. This is it. This is what we're getting." And so like he's seen the movie. He voices all the actors himself, like in the movie, and he has the exact pacing. And he literally just goes on set and gets that.
Wow.
Like, that's wild. I mean, you could kind of guess it based on his movies. His movies are so like crafted so well. But like if you go down the list of like the greatest directors, like you see a pattern of storyboarding.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, there's directors that don't do that and they swear completely against it. And hey, like that's their approach too. I'm the storyboard guy.
Yeah.
So you storyboard while you're shooting. During the week, you're planning out the shoot. You text your actors maybe like the Tuesday or the Monday. No, actually, here's something that I did that always helped out. It's kind of like you're dating someone, right? At the end of every shoot, when you're done, let's say you're shooting something this Saturday. or today's Saturday, right? Today's Sunday. Let's say you're shooting something today is Sunday with your actors and your crew. Don't let them leave until you say, hey, are you guys free on Thursday? Well, everybody is together in one room. Because then when you're doing through text, it's like they're at home and they're eating like chips, they're eating TV, or they're watching TV, or they're at work, and they just don't feel like making a movie. Well, like on set, they just had a great day making a movie. Like, oh, that was fun. Like, okay, hey guys, before you go, how's Thursday or Saturday? And they go, okay, yeah. And then everybody says it, and then it's set.
Yeah.
Like so asking what the next day will be like on the day is very important. But that's a good way to build momentum. Don't ever go like 2 weeks without shooting. If you're making a movie and the thing is a marathon, it's like it's keeping it happening. Like if you slip up and go like a month without shooting, oof.
You just lose momentum.
Yeah, people are going to move on. It's really just about like keeping it going. If you have scenes, also one thing that's very important when you make a movie like this is you have to be the one that's most free. If you are the director or writer or you're the producer making it, you have to be the one that is available whenever they are. Like if an actor goes, hey, I can't do Saturday anymore, but can you do Tuesday? And you had a date with someone on Tuesday, or you had a meeting with someone on Tuesday, like you better cancel that and do what your actor wants. Because as soon as your team members start thinking like, wow, like I'm on this guy's time, like they're gonna start wanting to do it way less. So I would say that like make yourself as available as possible. I even did that when I was working at Impact Theory. Like sometimes like some things got moved up. Like on Wednesday or Thursday, I just told my employer, hey, like I just can't come in Thursday. I just can't come in. And then because I mean, well, I don't want to get anything on record here. But filmmaking is my top priority always. So that's very important when you're making movies. You're the one that's always free for everybody. Yeah. And you just shoot till it's done. Like the shooting stuff, they're gonna figure out like making the small movies, earlier in the year. And then when it comes to the editing, I guess it's interesting. The cool thing about making a movie over a year on the weekends is that during the week you can edit everything. And so like when you're halfway done shooting a movie, you have half the movie edited already in your computer, and you're seeing how it's looking, and you're going, okay, wow, this scene doesn't fucking work, so I guess we don't need that scene in the future, or this scene is really cool, we should bring that scene back later. And so one thing that happens when you're shooting a movie in 3 weeks, like real movies do, very truncated, you're kind of doing it in a vacuum, where like you're hoping everything is turning out well, then in the edit you build it. But one thing about doing it on the weekends is you can really know what movie you're having. You could rewrite if you need to. So basically, by the time you're done shooting, you're gonna have an edited film. It's gonna be rough, and you're gonna have to trim it down a lot. But you're gonna have an edited movie, and the way that goes is once you have the edit fully locked, is you bring it to your sound guy. It's always you lock your picture, you lock the movie, and then you bring it to the sound guy, and the sound guy does all his work on it. And then you bring that to the composer, and the composer does all his work on it. It's normally those 3 stages. And for me, editing has lasted maybe like 5 months. Every single time, post-production was about 5-6 months. Shooting was about a year. So that's generally how the timeline breaks down on me. Whiplash, one of the greatest films, of the past decade, was shot and edited in 6 weeks. Jesus. Because they were trying to meet the Sundance deadline. That's wild.
And that was his first movie, right? As well.
That was he had made a feature before that, like the way I did, like a self-funded musical, at 23, and then that was the first movie he made, like with J.K. Simmons, like with a big actor. I think 25, 26, yeah.
Wow.
Wild.
That's
right.
Wild.
Like that's insane. That's insane. But when it comes to that, it's like he just had such a great script, right? Like his script was just so tight. Like if you look at the movie, it's such a tight film. Like it's just so tight, and it just
he probably put like months and months into like the
writing of it. Yeah.
I guess you said he wrote and shot in 6 weeks.
No.
He shot and edited it in 6 weeks.
Yeah, he shot and edited like 6-7 weeks.
But the script he probably spent like a couple months on, right?
I'm sure he spent a lot of time on the script getting it perfect. I'm sure he did because he had done a short about it a year before, right? So like he made the short version that went to Sundance, and then people saw it at Sundance and were like, I want to give this kid like $3 million to make a movie, and then he was able to just do it. So I'm sure that was strategic for him. He wrote the script, made the short to show the script could work, and then he made the script that he had written. So I'm almost positive that was the game plan. And he wrote La La Land. Like, that was one of the first movies he wrote. He wrote La La Land when he was in college.
Mm.
And after Whiplash, they were like, okay, we'll give him $10 million to make La La Land. And so he had La La Land script already ready, like a great script. And he had 7 years to think about that script. Same thing with Paul Thomas Anderson and Boogie Nights. Like, he wrote Boogie Nights when he was in his early 20s, and nobody would give him the money to make it. You know, Mark Wahlberg was in it, and not Gwyneth Paltrow, that was his next one. But no one would give him the money to make it. So he made a short called Sydney, or Hard Eight, interchangeable titles, 10-minute short. And then with that, he was able to raise money to make a very small movie with Samuel Jackson and Gwyneth Paltrow before they were big. And he made that feature at like 24, 25. And then they were like, okay, this kid can make a movie. And then at 27, he made Boogie Nights. But he wrote Boogie Nights when he was like 20. And so he had 7 years to think about the movie and really make it good. And so by the time he got there, like, he had seen the movie so many times in his head, of course going to be good, because he had great taste. Damien Chazelle and Paul Thomas Anderson, they had great taste, we were talking about earlier. Like, they've seen so many fucking movies and so many great movies that it's hard for them to make a bad movie because they know what a good movie is. I'm going on a tangent here, but
No.
But editing, I would say learn Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro, being in the industry, a lot of people say Avid is like the industry standard. So if you want to learn Avid, you can learn Avid. Avid is another editing software, but Avid or Premiere Pro, I would say, are the two good ones. Yeah, have a lot of screenings. Have like one thing that I made a mistake of fruit juice is nobody saw it. It was okay. I'm done. Let's rent the theater. It was just like that. I had no idea to do like screenings for friends, and like there were so many boring sections. I would have just known like, oh, if I would have screened that for a friend, I would just cut it out and it would have been way shorter. But I had no idea. With The Empty Iris, I did a screening. The Empty Iris was 3 hours long, and my friend was like, "Yeah, I think you should do a screening." I was like, "Nah, it's perfect. Like, you should do a screening, Johnny." And so I did a screening, and people were like looking at their phones and they just couldn't like wait. And I was like, "Oh shit, I need to cut out an hour from this." So I would say do as many screenings as possible. With my recent film, Just Another Tuesday, I don't know if you remember this, Jeremy, but like I'm pretty sure like I asked everybody. Like I was literally taking it. I took it to like 20 different people. I went, "Hey, can I come to your house? I'll bring food. I'll bring wine." That was for like, not you, Jeremy, but that was for other people like that I said that to.
I remember seeing it in your bedroom, and it was like, it wasn't even finished, right? I think you had done the voiceover, and it was like the same actor doing all the voices.
Exactly, kind of like Wes Anderson. I even had parts that were paper towels. I even had like parts where I drew on paper towels and put those in like in the scenes that I was going to shoot.
Yeah.
But like based off audience reactions, I knew what was working, I knew what to lean into, I knew what not to lean into. So I would say after you have your first edit, have everybody you know see it, and have people that like know how to make have people that know how to make movies, as well as just friends that don't know how to make movies, because you're gonna get good reactions from both, good intel from both, and also and don't be too butthurt. Like if everyone has their own opinion, and it's yours that matters most, but just get the collective of opinions.
Yeah, get enough data and then see what aligns, right?
Yeah, I mean even Scorsese does it. For The Wolf of Wall Street, I think it was 30 minutes longer than it was. He had a few screenings. The studio set up a few screenings, and they usually what they do is they give cards to the audience members, and the audience members write, and then the director reads all the cards, and based off of that, he cut out I think like 30 minutes, and he made it shorter. And there were some scenes that just went on too long, and he said it hurt cutting them, but he realized every single audience member was saying the same thing. And Steven Spielberg has a quote. He says, what's the actual quote? Goddamn, I'm gonna butcher it, but the basic Jamie, pull that up. the basic thing goes, the audience is the director of the film, something like that. He says the audience has final cut. That's what he says. He says the audience has final cut. Steven Spielberg loves screening his movies for audiences. He fine tunes it. Like that's why his movies are so fucking like good, and audiences love them. Like he watches it with the audience. He has the audience in mind the whole time, and he fine tunes it. sometimes studio heads go, "Oh, well, I like that scene. You shouldn't take it." I was like, "Hey, the audience didn't like it, or the Steven Spielberg does. That's how Steven Spielberg does it. It's really crazy." But obviously, you're making a movie for people. You better make sure that the way Pixar makes movies is they have all their storyboards up for their films. I think where the company eats, they have all their storyboards up for the movies that they're going to make, like years on the line, and they have post-it notes and pens, and they invite anybody, the janitor or some guy visiting. They invite anybody to look at their films and leave a post-it note on each store on the board and go, "This scene is not good enough," or "This scene maybe he should wear a pink hat because a pink hat is funny," or in this scene. And so they do that. They crowdsource ideas. That's why Pixar movies are so good. They've crowdsourced ideas for 5-6 years to make the best movie. So protect your film in its infancy, protect it while you're making it. But as you're getting ready to put it into the world, you should definitely figure out how to tailor it so people will like it, if that makes sense.
Perennial seller, baby.
Yeah, there you go. Read that book. Read that book.
And then okay, so now you have a movie. What do you do with it?
Oh wow, I haven't figured that out
yet. So like, I mean, obviously your first movie, it's probably not the best idea to try and like go to pitch that to like Netflix or whatnot, right? But like, it seems like
sure,
it's worth your while to like have a screening, kind of to have like a rewarding end to the whole like labor process, right? That you've put in so much work into.
Yeah. So like the general thing, if nobody knows anything about movie making, the general thing is people go get it to film festivals. That's like the general thing, because people like on the off chance that there's a producer somewhere that sees it and believes in your vision, or on the lottery chance that you get into Sundance and Amazon wants to buy it for $10 million. I listen to a lot of filmmaking interviews and they basically say the same thing, that like unless it's a big festival, it doesn't matter that you went to a festival and you just spend a lot of money traveling and you get, because you have to pay to get to think about getting accepted. You have to pay, and then the chance of being at Sundance or like Cannes, like now they're only accepting films with like big stars. I mean, I'm not being pessimistic here, but that's what I'm hearing. I mean, Good Time was accepted in Cannes, but it had Robert Pattinson in it. Whiplash was accepted, I think, to Sundance, but it had J.K. Simmons and it had Miles Teller in it, right? So that's what they say about film festivals. One of my friends says it's film festivals are great because if you go, you meet other people that are making movies. Because a lot of people are just like, they say they make movies, but when you go to a film festival, you're actually going to people that went through the process of having an end product, and it's good networking. So that's all good. I've never really done the film festival thing because I'm just really impatient and I don't want to wait another 6 months to hear back if my movie's gonna be played anywhere after I finish it. So normally what happens is I finish a movie and I go, okay, everybody in this community, there's 100 people that like worked on it. That's like, if they all have families, like 400 people that would love to see it. Let's have a screening. So I normally just like rent out a venue and like promote it on Instagram and have a screening. That's generally what I do. But you could also circumvent this whole thing in a very smart way. If the whole idea of going to a festival was that you could have someone give you a shot at making a bigger movie, you could also just finish the movie, find the email of the guy that could give you a shot at making a bigger movie and send it to him. You could always just do that, which is inadvertently kind of like what I did, right? Like I showed it to Jarek. I showed it to Tom Billiou. I showed it to a friend of mine now, Dave, who was one of Tom's friends. And so once you have your film and your calling card, instead of spraying at a film festival, like spray and pray, you could just be very specific and highly targeted and just find the emails of people that you think can give you a better chance of making a bigger one next time. And that's what I did. And if you made a horror feature or a horror short and you think it's good enough to get people's attention, find a producer that does horror. Don't go for like the biggest producers. Just find someone that's mid-tier, because people who are mid-tier have connections with big people. Find someone that's mid-tier, send them the movie, and if they like it and they like you, and they think you got what it takes, like after enough emails, you're gonna find someone that's gonna champion you, and it's gonna like help you on the way up. So that's the path I went. I went very strategic with who I wanted to help mentor me and see my movies.
There you have it. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Johnny. If you want to watch the full interview I did with him, you can check out this video right here. And if you want more clips from an interview, you can check out this playlist right here. And finally, if you want more career informational interviews like this one, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I set a personal goal for 2021 for the first quarter, for the first 90 days, to upload one video every week. So there's a lot more coming. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.